All right, so I'm Jeff Miotke. I'm an aquascaper. I am an internationally renowned aquascaper. This is what I do for a hobby. I love it, and I'm going to share my latest projects with you all. So what is Aquashella? It's aquariums and art, right? And aquascaping brings these two things together quite beautifully. So I'm excited to be talking to you all today, and we're going to get right into it, right? So what is aquascaping? Aqua, water, or in this case underwater, scaping, a scene of land. Put them together, we have aquascaping. It's interesting, as aquascapers, we tend to do terrestrial layouts inside the aquarium, which is underwater. So if you look at a lot of these pieces of art, you'll see mountain scenes, forest scenes, sometimes underwater scenes, maybe a fallen tree in the water, but that's what aquascaping is. I'm going to play a little clip that I put together for y'all talking about aquascaping and how it is aquarium art, all right? There's no sound, my friend. Should I read it out loud while it goes? Let's try to do this. All right. Art. It's a broad concept that encompasses various forms of human expression and creativity. It involves the creation and appreciation of aesthetic or meaningful objects, performances, or experiences. While art can take many different forms like painting, sculpture, photography, music, dance, theater, and so on, it generally serves as a medium for people to communicate ideas and emotions and their perspectives, while also offering a means of communication and connection. Artists possess a deep passion for their craft and dedicate their time and effort to honing their skills and exploring their creative potential. As artists, we draw inspiration from our surroundings, experiences, and personal beliefs. We experiment, material styles, pushing our boundaries and challenging the conventional norms to create something unique and thought-provoking. Art. It is innately subjective and interpretive, which invites diverse perspective and allows for engagement, appreciation, and meaning-making. It stimulates creativity, imagination, and critical thinking. And this term, artist, it is not limited to professionals or individuals that have achieved mainstream recognition. We can all engage in artistic activities as a hobby, and we are considered artists in our own right. The act of creating art is a deeply personal and fulfilling endeavor that can be pursued by anyone and everyone with a desire to explore their creativity. We are aquarium artists or aquascapers. Not as dramatic as I had recorded here, but hopefully I did okay. I know I flubbed up a little bit. So, as aquarium artists, aquascapers, what are we trying to do? We're trying to tell a story, express ourselves, and be creative. We're interpreting what we have seen in life, what we have seen in nature. We're expressing what we have seen, and it is that expression that we are creating in these aquariums. Every one of us will have a unique style. Here is a picture of one of my aquariums. All of the art you see here is created by me and photographed by me. This here is a scene of the Blue Ridge Mountains where I live. So in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, there's a lot of ravines and a lot of washed out gullies and tall pine trees. Many of them have toppled over in these gullies. So what you see here is my interpretation of this story in autumn. Can everyone see that? That is a mark of a good aquascaper is to be able to create something and have everyone see the same thing that they intended. Cool, right? So we each have a connection to nature. I think this is because we live in cities and the hustle and bustle in our offices and all this. We have a desire to reconnect to that nature. And aquariums allow us to have that slice of nature in our homes. This is another one I set up. Pretty cool. This is a 90 centimeter tank, so 33 feet long, 2 feet front to back, and 16 inches tall. Pearl gouramis, rasboras, all live plants, real driftwood. Yeah, so everyone has their own aesthetic appeal. So as artists, you develop your own eye. We're getting back to aquascaping is underwater landscaping. What is this? Mountains, right? Okay, so moving on. We have limited time, unfortunately. Here's another one. This one is an underwater scene, right? We talked about mountains and forests. This one I built, this represents underwater stream. You can feel the flow of the stream from my right, your left, whatever, right? You get the directions. You can feel the flow of the stream with the wood and the bending of the plants and the motion of the fish. Abstract. So it doesn't have to be something literal. This is something I built that's very abstract. So we have wood, we recognize stone, the fish. It's really an art piece that I created just to look pretty. It represents nothing. You won't find this in nature, right? What about this? That's art. That looks really nice. Who likes this one? I didn't make it. Now what do you think? Can AI be an artist? Are you blown away? It starts making you ask questions. What is art? Is it art if it's computer generated but people appreciate it? I don't know. I don't have answers for you. We're in new territory, folks. So who knows, right? So this is my latest project. This is a project I started at home. My mission is to educate and inspire while having fun, okay? And this emphasizes the while having fun. Last year was a dark year for me. I have turned the corner. Everything is looking sunshine and rainbows. And I think this piece reflects my mood. So let's get into it. Candlelit Cove is what I named it. So here's the beginning of the project. You can see I have my blank canvas. I'm looking at my stones. Actually glued 2 stones here together to make a bigger stone. It's a good aquascaping tip. You're never going to find the right stone. You could create them. And then starting to explore some special effects because I wanted over the top, magical, crazy. So, come on. This is my first attempt at this project. Pretty wild looking, right? This is looking kind of abstract. We have this kind of trees here. We have these big vertical rocks that are really dominant. So this is a dominant stonescape. It's very bright. There's some issues with how tight things were, and so it was a good first try. Oops. So this is how my version 1.0 ended. So this is my 3-foot tank, and you can see I'm really playing with this. I'm going outside my norm. You saw the norm. Come on, man. So he has been quiet for the last 2 hours. Now he's babbling. So anyway, this is my first take at this. So you can see I'm really playing. I'm really having fun. I'll get to it. Okay. So these are 3D printed buildings, and I was inspired by the previous Aquashella, where one of my friends brought these little people and put them on his aquascape, and they were climbing up the cliff face. And it just tickled my fancy. I really loved them. And I asked him where he got them, and he said he found them or whatever, and it was cool. And he inspired me. So you get inspiration from all around, not only nature or movies, but friends and community. So this is version 1.0, and leveling these buildings turned out to be a real challenge. If you remember the first version, I had that big piece of wood coming up. I couldn't put buildings on there flat and run my special effects. So this is what I came up with, and I felt it was okay, and I was headed in the right direction, but it wasn't there. Would you all agree it's not quite there? Yeah, it's not magical. So, of course, I go back, get all my materials out. In this case, I usually have a tarp on the ground, and I didn't use it, and I showed my wife this presentation. She busted me right away that I didn't put the tarp down. So, yeah. So you can see I have a selection of materials. I'm always pulling through my materials, looking at the materials that'll work for what I haven't envisioned. Sometimes I modify them. Sometimes I find the right piece. I just spilled the soil at the backside of the tank. That was awesome, right? And this I wanted to be called Candlelit Cove. We need candlelight to be Candlelit Cove, right? So I use fairy LEDs, the little string LEDs, so low voltage. They're IP68, and I put question mark because they sure aren't IP68. IP68 is a term used for waterproof. They were not waterproof. They kind of fizzled out. So I had to buy another set and then rewire it above the water. So pretty cool. That's a cool effect, right? Artists, so we got to play, we have to experiment, we have to push ourselves out of our boundaries. Candlelit indeed. I nailed it, I think. Yeah? Yeah, see some nodding heads. That's pretty cool. So this is in my office, and I get to view this in the evening. So the lights go down, the main lights are above here, they go down, these stay on into the late evening. And then this was backlit at this point. So what you're seeing in the back is one of those light screens, and it's light blue. So that is real, that is not photoshopped. More magic. I really wanted to create this immersive environment. And there's always a disconnect when you look at this type of aquarium style, which is called paludarium, where we have a water section and then a terrestrial section above. And I wanted to make sure that that was integrated. My roots are as an aquascaper in fish and aquariums, not the terrestrial side. So I've really paid attention to making them come together. So we're getting there, magic, right? So we got the lights, we have the stone and wood that we put in. We've got this living nature in the water, we're putting in terrestrial, we've got these swirling mists. I've even worked in reflections into my design. So you can see this right over here. Can you see that dot? Yeah, see these lights are reflections off the side of this house. It's coming together, it looks a lot better in version 1.0. Yeah. These buildings, I got online, Etsy. So I reached out to folks and I said, can you 3D print these buildings? I saw these buildings and they reminded me of a video game, World of Warcraft. Anyone seen that? These are the Stormwind buildings. So the city of Stormwind, and it had these blue roofs. And I painted them up just like it was in the video game. And I am not a painter. So I am an aquascaper. So I'm learning how to be a painter. So I'm integrating my hobbies. So I've got photography. So I got all these hobbies that are integrating into one. You can see we made a mess. It was around Christmas. The Christmas cookies were gone. The bin is, the bin is empty. The weight is not. So this is video I took of my wife who is sitting beside me painting. She never participates in my hobby. She's extremely supportive, but she doesn't participate. This project got her participating. more painting, so you'll get to see this piece is in there. I've got the 350% magnifying glasses on. Pretty cool, right? So why not? Why not play with our aquariums? They don't all have to be serious like the first ones I showed you. So there's the result of the dragon. Turned out pretty good, and I got a little guy here. He's fighting the dragon. That little guy, he's about this tall. I don't know if you can see that. It's about 1 inch tall. Yeah, so 350%, I need like 10,000% magnifiers and steadier hands. Do you see how saturated these colors are? This is crazy saturated colors. This is what it looks like. This is what it really looks like when I'm sitting there in my office looking at the tank. Why is that? It's because I have a light fixture over it that is only red, green, and blue diodes. So we are missing some of the color spectrum. We're missing yellows, oranges, cyans, deeper violets. We're missing these colors. And that's why these pop. This red pops so hard. This green pops so hard because we're pumping red, green, and blue light. Blue light pops so hard. But, the stone, look at this. This is light gray. What color does it look? Purple? Purplish. So yeah, so it's really a cool lighting effect, but maybe not for everybody. It goes back to us being aquarium artists and developing our own aesthetic. And I understand that this is not for everybody, but appreciation of it should be. And then we got to have our life. So what better fish to add to such a magical environment than our fancy guppies? I think these are called the yellow tiger mosaic guppies. They're new to their home. They were just added at that point. So, and then we have life on the land. There is you saw how many plants were in the water, and there's equal plants above the water. I've paid particular attention to both, so it's weighted evenly. So we have green on the bottom, green at the top, green throughout. And I'm going to be adding some critters. I've added some isopods. I've actually added a mantid. I think that this might be a really good roost. I don't know if that's the right terminology for mantid to be under here. Hopefully they'll take residence, we'll see. They just hatched, and here I am. So I haven't fed them, so I don't know if there's enough bugs in here to keep them alive in the meantime. And my wife was not willing to feed them. So anyone knows a lot about this, let me know. I was thinking maybe some vampire crabs running around here, crazy havoc. Fun, right? So this is the equipment that is used to run this magical aquarium, the Candlelit Cove. We have the aquascaper line tank, so it's the same one that's over there in our booth with their stand. The Biomaster filter. I've only done 3 water changes. This was set up in October. I've done 3 water changes. This thing has been almost hands off as far as maintenance. It's been incredible. I have an army of blue shrimp in there. I'm sure that helps. I put 10 in there, and I think I'm in there hundreds at this point. I know that they help. I have auto top-off water because the mister in there and the auto top-off work in conjunction because the auto top-off keeps the water level even, and then the mister is set at the right height all the time. And then when I'm away, this fills the tank for 3 weeks. Yeah, and this is all RO water. It doesn't need to be RO water. I could use tap, but I find it stays. Look how clean this is. So I'm going to continue to use RO water in there. What else have we got in here? We have our fairy LEDs, my tools. Wassa stand has our place for our tools, and then I'm using the Chihirios RGB2. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but whatever. They're not sponsoring me. So simple, right? It's not too crazy for all the magical effects. And then here it is all combined. What do y'all think? Cool? Yeah, you digging it? So we got the candlelight effect, the mist. You can even see the plants glowing down here, the plants up here, the dragons menacingly approaching the poor village. The blue roofs really pop. I love it. And here's the full version 2.0. Thank you. So you can see lots of plants down here, lots of plants. I added a lot of little people in here because you got to have little people. That was the inspiration, right? I think I have 7 little people right now. We have fishermen, boat makers, little guy in the lookout. Did you see him up here? Cool, right? So how many 3D printed models are in here? 39 of them. You can see I got little boats, the dock work, little nets, barrels of fish. They're building boats out of here. You can see the helm here. Yeah, it's just been fun. I've been doing this for so long. I've been keeping aquariums for 45 years. And I guess this was bound to happen. So the size of this tank, it's 36 inches by 18 inches by 18 inches. It holds 47 gallons, so very manageable. I squeezed a lot in here for that size. And how much did this cost? I don't know yet. I haven't added it up. I'm sure it was quite a bit. So who wouldn't want to be this guy fishing on this dock? Yeah. And this is really the slogan I came up with when I was turning that dark corner. Never stop playing. I may look a little bit older, a little bit grayer, but I'm still a kid at heart, aren't we all? So that is that project. Let's talk about a project I did for the Awaza booth. I call it Project Oops, the Awaza Oko Project Showcase, and it's right over there in the booth. Have you seen it yet? Yeah, a lot of you have seen it, so this we'll go through real quick and then we'll wrap it up. Hey folks, it's time to get my hands dirty again. Today we're prepping 175 pounds of stone for a new layout. This is no small task, but I'm always up for the challenge. First things first, all these stones are too big, so let's break them down so we have a range of sizes. I like to use various hammers and chisels and any unresolved anger and get cracking. Once we have our pieces sorted out to different sizes, it's time to give them a good wash. Now, I could clean them off with a hose. In this case, I turn to the pressure washer because why not, right? So I make a huge mess on my patio. My wife loves me just enough to let me live. So cleaning 175 pound stones, that's what it looks like when we're done. And I kept all the dust. First things first, I said it again because it was 2 different Instagram reels. But anyway, so I want it to be really cool, strong impression, something I'm proud enough to show here in the convention. And it needs to be strong, really strong, because it's got to ship from Atlanta to here in Dallas. You can see my work process here. So I'm working on a table, so I'm outside of the aquarium, because to get this kind of detail, you really need to come in sideways and see it sideways on. If you're working top down, you can't see what you're doing. Plus your back starts hurting really quick. I used expanding foam to put the aquarium together, not the aquarium, the layout together. I thought it would keep it intact when I shipped it. Kind of, sort of worked. You can see here's the arch. So I made this modular, so it was 3 different pieces. And you can see how gingerly I'm holding it. It was falling apart in my hands while I was filming that. I'm like, this ain't making it. No chance. Here I am boxing it all up. And then it arrived here. So I came in Thursday, started unboxing. And the first box I unboxed, pieces. There's pieces falling off, stones split in half. It was a mess. So what did I do? Tightened my belt, rolled up my sleeves, got to work, and I glued it back together as best I could. And despite all of my expanding foam and putting reinforcement in here with wood, it still broke apart, but it is here, right there in the Waza booth. So, if you aren't already, I am on Instagram and YouTube. My name, Jeff Miotke. I share all of my art out there. And please come to the booth, take a look at the tank. If you have any questions about this presentation, because we're very short on time and Jason's going to be pushing me off on the stage in a minute. How much time do we have? We have 10 minutes. Hey, does anyone have any comments, questions? Yes?
What kind of a sealant are you using to make these non-toxic?
Oh, good question. So those 3D printed buildings could be very toxic in the water. Number one, they are not in the water. Number two, I varnished them. I just blinded myself. I can't see anyone. So yeah, I varnished them and I'm careful never to get them into the water. You still think it's gonna be a problem. So they've been in there since October. And nothing is, what's that?
Things can wick.
Wick, no, yeah, that's correct. I was very careful to make sure I did not have wicking situations. In fact, some of the plants on the upper layers are using wicks to bring moisture to them. But I designed this, there's a plastic barrier that these sit on that keep them out of the water because water will wick up, and it was an issue. It was an issue, major issue, because I wasn't even thinking about, I figured it was sealed, that they'd be okay. You're nodding your head, it's not. Yeah, so that is a problem. So this is obviously an experiment. You saw the beginning, the version 1, version 2. It's been running since October. These buildings have been in there and haven't run into an issue yet, but be careful. It's very good. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, ma'am.
I was curious, are you using acrylic paints on?
Yes, it is acrylic paints. Yeah, and they are sealed because acrylic paints, yes, acrylic is plastic, so you need to be careful. If you notice, there was no plastic in the water, and that's for that exact reason. I've got shrimp in there. I think the shrimp would tell me if the water was going bad and the lack of water changes. So I think I'm good, but if you attempt something like this, be warned, okay? You had a question earlier? I answered it? Who else got a question for me? Oh, you got another question?
So you're using styrofoam to keep that in the water?
Oh, yeah, you picked this off, right? Yeah, so this is temporary for shipping. Yeah. So this is temporary for shipping. Yeah. You've all seen the beginning slides and all that. That is my normal aesthetic, and it's completely natural materials. I tried to, about the only synthetic thing you'll see in my aquariums is super glue.
What's the smallest tank you've ever scaped and the largest, and what were the challenges in things that came together more easily on either?
Yeah, so the question is, what's the smallest tank? What's the largest tank I've done? I tend to stay in the middle. I don't like small tanks because they really restrict us as artists. The reason being is if the tank is this big, our fish only get so small, right? We can use nanofish, but if our tank's too small, those nanofish are still huge. So I like to use something that's 90 centimeters. I don't go past 4 feet long. Anything beyond that, the maintenance really, it gets out of hand. Yeah, it really increases the maintenance. So I stick around this 3 to 4 foot range where the scale of the wood, stone, plants, and fish looks good. Yeah. Yes.
Do you work with an accelerator for your glue?
Yes. I use accelerator for my glue, but I only use the accelerator for the glue outside the tank. I don't like spraying it inside the tank. People say it smells like raspberries, but it's some type of volatile. I'm sure it's not healthy to breathe. Don't get it on yourself, all the standard warnings. So if you use accelerator, wear gloves, do it outdoors. I do use it. There's another method where you can use a fibrous material, something that is cellulose. You can use cellulose, like wadded up paper, cotton. This originated with cigarette butts, believe it or not. And cigarette butts are cellulose acetate, which is actually plastic. That's why when people used to throw cigarette butts on the ground and squish them and walk away, they're still there for us 30 years later. Yeah, so that's why cigarette butts were such a big issue back in the day if you were around. So that's how that started. So don't put cigarette butts in your tank, please. Anyone else got a question? Otherwise, we'll wrap this up. I appreciate your all's attention. Glad I got to speak to you all today. Come check out the tank, and I'll be over there to answer any more questions. Thanks, y'all.